Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kalani. This is a Sunday service, music mindfulness, and the topic is Ohana, which is a Hawaiian word for family. We'll talk more about that as we get into this discussion. The idea with this is to supplement a lot of the work that I do here on World Drum Club and connect with you who are interested in the idea of mindfulness, but also what I'm interested in, which is how can we use some of the ideas or concepts in music making and experiencing music to leverage towards a mindfulness practice. And it's my belief that there are many parallels and many practices in music that set us up for success as a mindfulness practitioner. Now, both music and mindfulness are great things, right? Good things, generally considered to be beneficial for humanity. My path in this convergence of music and mindfulness as 30 years in the making or more, because I've always been a student and practitioner of various forms of meditation, Taoism, self-help. I'm a big fan of going back to the mid-'80s of Wayne Dyer and some of the people that have been around in that field for a little bit longer, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, Marianne Williamson, and up through the last decade with Eckhart Tolle and of course Thich Nhat Hanh and blah blah blah. But this isn't about any particular person or style or message. Today, I want to give you some ways that you could view the world, maybe shift your perceptions a little, shift your thinking, so that you can feel more peaceful, more relaxed, lower stress, have less of a combative relationship possibly with others in the community, especially online, because we need that, because it's so easy. And I'm not saying anything you don't already know. It's so easy for things to spin in a direction that causes a lot of people to be aggressive and be kind of, angry or and honestly abusive and hurtful, or to be hurt, basically attack one another online. Why? Because it's easy. You can be a keyboard warrior, right? You're at home. It's safe, feels safe for you, so you can just shoot a bunch of things out. And I unfortunately, of course, I've been seeing you guys. I watch you guys. I'm a member of many groups, and I look at posts just like all of you do, and I see the comments, and it's just, I understand it, but it's just a pity. I wouldn't say it makes me sad, but it's kind of a bummer that we can't somehow seem to do better. So I want to help us do better. I want to help all of us, including me, do better. And that's why I want to talk about this idea of Ohana. And you could also think of this as another word that would work in that place is Ubuntu. Another word that would work in that place is universal family or oneness, right? The idea of Ohana is just, and I'm going to use that because I'm part Hawaiian. My grandmother was born and raised. I have a lot of Hawaiian kind of culture in my background. I didn't grow up in Hawaii. I grew up near water in Oakland, California. But my point is that if I can do it, so can you, right? It's not about being Hawaiian or growing up in the islands. It's not about that. It's about using the idea, using the concept, and putting it into practice. And it doesn't matter what you call it, right? I really don't care about labels. It's not important how you look. I've talked about that in the past, but let me just give you my super short soapbox speech about mindfulness. Mindfulness belongs to everybody equally. It belongs to anybody who's willing to just try and practice. It's not about where you live. It's not about being in the cave on the mountain or at the beach or in a temple, or it's not about your clothes. You don't have to wear shirtless collars or shave your head. or have a cool name to practice mindfulness, all right? So please remember that. I know we're always attracted to like something exotic, like we think that people from other countries, and I don't know why this is. It seems like we don't believe in ourselves, so we think that if somebody comes from another place, exotic, tropical, mysterious, and if, that they know more, that they're better able to practice something like mindfulness, and so we acquiesce, to those people. Not that they're any more or less able. We're all able to do it. My point is, it doesn't matter about the clothes you wear. It doesn't matter about the aesthetics. You can burn incense. You cannot burn incense. You can light a candle. You cannot light a candle. It's okay. That's all extra stuff. So, all right, I'm going to stop ranting about that. But please believe in yourself. Please believe that you can be a mindfulness practitioner. And it's not about sitting in lotus position either. It's not about doing a mudra with your fingers. All right, so I see that online. I see people talk about mindfulness, and usually it says mindfulness, and then there's a person in a yoga pose. All right, it has nothing to do with yoga. Maybe there's some overlap, sure, but there's overlap with everything. So it's not yoga. It's not necessarily meditation. Doesn't matter what you look like, how old you are, where you're from, where you were born, where you live, where you grew up, what language you speak, what food you eat, what incense you burn, what music you listen to. All right, none of that. All right, so let's just agree that you can do this. Mindfulness is really about paying attention and raising your awareness. It's about listening, looking, feeling, touching. It's about being in your senses, having that sensory awareness, and then doing that, being aware internally, externally, which is very easy to do, by the way. All you need to do is stop doing a lot of other stuff and stop thinking. Of course, if you eliminate rumination and worry, thinking about the future and thinking about the past, all of that stuff I just mentioned happens automatically. So attending to the present moment isn't something you have to try to do. All right? It's what happens when you stop doing, when you stop distracting yourself with a lot of other stuff. Okay? That's your natural state. So, number one, mindfulness is not something that you do. It's a result of not doing other things. And you will automatically come into that state because you're designed that way. You have all the senses, but they get pushed to the side because of what's in here. All right. I'm going to go into that in another talk. Today is about Ohana. So if we can clear the way, clear the path, I do, though, want to put this idea, give you this idea as a platform for peace and calmness and connection. So what is the idea? It's family. We talked about that. It's community. In the Hawaiian culture, and I'm not representing the Hawaiian culture. I can't speak for the Hawaiian culture. I can speak for the idea that every adult in whatever your generation is, everybody who's a generation older than you, so all of your parents, their brothers and sisters, your aunties and uncles, and everybody in that generation, the construct of Ohana, you think of as your uncle or your auntie, all right? Auntie or uncle. This is not exclusive to Hawaii either, by the way. I'm just using that as one example. Everyone who's in your generation is brother, sister, or cousin. All right? Brother, sister, or cousin. That's how you're going to think of them. You don't have to say that out loud, but that's how you think of them. Everybody who's younger than you, nephew, niece. Everybody who's two generations, in Hawaiian it's tutu, is grandmother. So, but just think, grandmother, grandfather, auntie, uncle, cousin, brother, sister, nephew, niece. If you can orient yourself to that way of thinking and then turn that into a way of treating people and the way of behaving, that, my friends, will be of great help. It would be a really nice service to do. Now, I know our family, the way we relate to family members, is sometimes worse than the way we relate to strangers. I know that. That's not the point. The point is we're going to treat people with respect, like they matter, and we're going to be nice. We can disagree, but we're going to be respectful. We're going to be helpful. We're going to have empathy. We're going to treat people with unconditional positive regard because we're all one family. We are. We're all in this together. Everybody's doing the best they can. And that's another thing that helps me remember that when somebody is even behaving in a way that's not kind, or either indirectly or directly towards me. Let's say somebody's out, and you're out driving around, you get the finger flip. Okay, fine. That's the best they can do in that moment. They're just trying to, they're just doing the best they can. They're trying to make themselves feel better, right? Yeah. Giving you a look, or giving me, I'll just talk about myself, right? Giving me a look, giving me the finger, giving me a whatever, honk the horn. Like Miguel, is it Miguel Ruiz? The 5 agreements. Don't take it personally. It's not about you. All right? What somebody else chooses to do and say and how they behave, that's about them. So, what I like to do is just send some compassion to them and say, oh my God, you're having a hard day, aren't you? You are out of options if that's what you're doing and saying, right? You've gotten to the end of the rope for you. And now this is what you're doing because you're kind of flailing, I don't know, they're stressed out. Okay, that's okay. We all have, we all could get there. But what is your reaction? What's your choice in that moment? Are you going to push back, or are you going to say, it's okay, do what you got to do. You do you. I'm sorry that that's happening for you. Like I really, and I'm genuine. I'm being totally honest with you right now. This is the way to do it. Because if you escalate things, now you're sucked into that whirlpool, right? You're orbiting the black hole, and now you're going to get pulled in by the negativity, and that's not where you want to be. Everything gets crushed at the center of the black hole. So, you've got to let it go. Let it go. Just let it float by. People are part of nature. This is another thing that you could use. You have to remember that people are part of nature. There's this adage, or I guess it's an adage. I sometimes get confused with axiom, adage, saying, story, whatever. There's a person in a boat in the river, right? Person in a boat in the river, and they see this boat headed down the river. It's headed right towards them. And they start yelling, hey, you're going to run into me. Hey, you're going to run into me. Move. They don't change. They're just going straight at the other person. And this person is yelling and yelling and yelling, and the boat is coming right at them. Finally, it hits them. And the person who'd been yelling at the boat realizes there's nobody in the boat. It's an empty boat. It was just floating down the river. But what did they think? They assumed that somebody was driving it, and they were intentionally, aiming at them, or they were intentionally not doing anything about it, not moving. And they rammed into them. And when they realized there was nobody in the boat, then they just laughed. Oh my God, there's nobody in the boat. Well, guess what? Even when there is somebody in the boat, sometimes there's still nobody in the boat. When somebody takes that parking spot, they don't realize that you were there with. They don't know. They're just doing the best they can. So it's not about you. People are part of nature. There's a good book. It's called The Cow in the Parking Lot. And it's about that idea. That if somebody pulls into a parking space you had your eye on, somehow you take it personally and you think they did it on purpose and you get mad at them. But if a cow just walks into the parking spot, you'd probably just say, wow, that's weird. You wouldn't hold it. You wouldn't be yelling at the cow, hey, you took my parking spot, right? Because that's just not the way we think. We think that people do this intentionally and they do it like to us. But you got to remember that there's so many people in the world. Everything's bound to bump into each other. You know, people are trying to go on the same path, and we have to, we have to navigate that. And a lot of the time, we just have to make room for each other. So, how do we do that? We do it by treating people with this idea of Ohana, keeping this idea of Ohana, of family. Everybody is in the family, and that will soften that feeling. That will help you if you can keep that attitude. And this relates to the idea of just kindness, loving kindness meditation. You could look that up, try that. Kindfulness, which is kind of what I call what I do, what I teach. It's mindfulness with that social component, right? It's not just mindfulness, it's kindfulness. However you want to think of it, the labels are not important. Could you do that? Could you try this week? Try it starting today. When you're out, or, if you're online also, see if you can be the one that lets the attack, end. End with you, right? Lets the aggression or that that somebody saying something that's mean or, judgmental, right? What happens online a lot? People tell each other what they think. Right? They tell you what you're about, right? That's a common, it's not true, but people will say, well, you're just trying to, all right, you just want to, right? They're telling you, or you're in, and then they use a name, right? Name calling. It's name calling, and a lot of it is falsely accusing people of, trying to do something that they're not really trying to do, or falsely accusing people, or just accusing people of having an agenda, et cetera, et cetera. So I know it doesn't feel good. Nobody likes to have other people publicly attack them, shame them, misrepresent them, all those things, right? Nobody likes that. I get it. I don't like it either. But what do we do in that moment to reduce it? And really what we're talking about is turn the other cheek, stick to the facts, stick to representing your own ideas and yourself. Don't try to tell other people what they're about. That's a really great way for things to spin out of control, and then you just get into name calling and all the arrows flying back and forth online. So you just have to find a way to take yourself out of that fight, because you're not going to win. Nobody wins in that battle. So this is about a choice that you have to make about how you want to operate in the world and how you want to be in the world. I feel like what works for me is if I can just keep this idea of Ohana when I'm out, and just kind of think of people that way as there's my cousin, he's my uncle, it's my grandmother, this is my nephew, niece. It just helps me feel more, kind towards people, more tolerant, right? Maybe it's a matter of tolerance, because I know we have to be tolerant of family members, for example. So there's a good parallel there. It doesn't mean that we have to, agree with everything. We don't have to agree. It's not about agreeing, but it is about just being respectful. In a musical sense, the idea of Ohana is taking into consideration the family of instruments, right? Of that we're all in the orchestra, right? Where everybody has a voice, and it doesn't matter if you're super loud or high pitched or low, and you know, it doesn't matter. There's a place for everyone, and everybody's doing the best they can. So that's the other big piece. I mentioned that earlier, but it's really important. It works for me when I can just remember that, you know, oh, that guy, he's doing the best he can. If the best he can do is yell at me, okay, that's fine. It's not about me, all right? Him yelling at me is about him. He could say it's about me. It's not about me. And let's go deeper. If I did something that I was unaware, let's say I did, you know, cut somebody off in traffic and he's like, then I can say, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. I apologize. Please. You know, so, you know, take ownership for your trespasses, right? Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. What do you think that means? That's what it means. It means, you know, if you do something unconsciously, I do things unconsciously all the time that irritate other people here and there. But if I, you know, I can own that. I can say, look, oh, I'm sorry, you know, and that's good too. That goes a long way. So, you know, not being defensive. We're doing the best we can, including me. So I have to remember that for myself. I give myself I try to extend to myself the same level of kindness and understanding that I do my best to extend to others. You know, what really causes a lot of tension between people is public discussions. And that is why I believe that there's so much of that online, because it's online. It's public. People don't like to be shamed or labeled or, you know, called names in front of other people. So another good strategy is if you do have something does happen between you and someone else, whether it's in a live situation or it's in an online situation, speak to them directly. Say, I'd like to take a minute, and I have something I want to work through with you. I have some questions, or I have something I'd like to express to you. And do it privately. Do it one-on-one. Don't do it in public. When it's in public, people get super sensitive. They get defensive, and things tend to spin out of control. That's why you see all these, you know, Twitter fights and Facebook fights and going back and forth, because it's about ego at that point. It's not even about, at that point, it's not even about what happened. You know, it's about winning. People want to win, which means they want to crush their opponent, no matter what, all right? So, you know, at that point, I don't know if it's solvable, if it's a really solvable issue, because then it becomes just more complex and it's not about the original thing. So, again, everyone, and thanks for hanging out today with this. I think it's a successful live stream. I'm still trying to figure out how to work all my equipment here. What are the takeaways? Everybody can do this. Everybody can practice mindfulness. Everybody can do music. 2, this idea of Ohana can help you. It can help save you from so much anxiety. And I want to relate another point, and that is, like I've said in the past, I want everyone else to do better. I want you to do better, whoever you are out there, and I want people around me to do better and feel better and be less agitated. Why? Because my world is not made up of me. My world is not me. My world that I live in is made up of everything except me. which includes everyone else. So if I can help everyone else feel better, do better, be more kind, that's actually selfish because then I get to be in a world with those people instead of surrounded by people who are acting like jerks. I hope that makes sense. It's just facts. If I have that wrong, please let me know. But that's the way I think of it. That's why we need to treat people in this Ohana mindset. Because if we don't, then the end game is we're all just trying to beat everyone down on the way to trying to get to the top of the mountain, and then we're standing alone on the top of a mountain. Everyone else is gone, right? Yay, I won. As you're surrounded by chaos and mayhem. Or, we build up walls and then we have people that can shut everyone else out. And, we see that in our society. We see a lot of people trying to move towards segregation, pushing people away. But that never ends well. That's not a solution. Building your castle walls higher and higher is not the solution. It might be a temporary solution, but it's not, ultimately it's not going to work. So we need to help each other. We need to treat each other with kindness. So I'd like to have kind and helpful comments below. I know many of you have practices that would align with these ideas, and I'm interested to know what you do that would be in a similar vein to what I've talked about today in this talk. I do think it's important that we not only address music making, as musicians and as artists, but that we do what we can as people who tap into the aesthetic side of living to help those people who have not done as much of that work and practiced community and connection in the ways that the musician has. I think it's one reason people look up to musicians and artists so much, because we do things that are in many ways to most people kind of superhuman and unbelievable. Most people, I remember when I went to my first concert, which was Foghat, by the way, I had no idea how the sound was coming from those like 5 people on the stage. My first few concerts I went to see Boston, I saw, Rolling Stones. I had no idea. It was magic. It's magic. How are these people, I can see them up there doing something and the sound coming out, unbelievable. So musicians and artists in general, we spend our lives exploring relationships and ways of being that are good, are helpful, because it results in music a lot of the time. It results in rhythm and harmony and melodies and beauty. So we're really experts in the art of creating and modulating relationships. And that, my friends, is what life is about. The quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of your feelings. Throughout your life. It's about how you feel. It's about, we all feel a certain way, right? You wake up, you're in the middle of the day, you go to sleep, you have a feeling. What is it? I think the better our relationships, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the better feeling our relationships are, all of our relationships with ourselves, with our environment, with each other, the better those can be, the better our life will feel. Makes sense, right? The less tension, the more connected we feel, the better. And therefore, that's our life. That's our life quality. You know, the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. It's not your bank account. It's not your toys. It's not your collections of things. It's not how many letters you have after your name. It's not your title. It's not. How do I know that? How do we know that? You can look at a lot of people that have made tons of money, gained high status, and if it were true that doing those things resulted in a high quality of life, then none of those people would crash and burn the way they do. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. It's not bad to make money. It's not bad to have things. That's not the point. But that's different than having a quality of life built on quality relationships. Okay, so all that other stuff, you know, the money and the status and the popularity, those are extras, right? You can go for that stuff if you want. It does not equate to quality, to life quality. Now, only in as much as you need basics. You need to have food, shelter, you know, basic community. You need to be safe, not hungry, not cold and freezing or hot. You know, you have to be basically okay. You have to have a minimum of things to not be stressed in your daily living. But besides that, after that, it's about community. So here we go, full circle. And there's a good documentary, I think it's called Happiness or something, you can look it up, but they basically explored that idea, and they found that actually some of the people in the world who have the highest, I don't know how they measured this, but the highest happiness quotient, if that's a word, the highest degree or measurement of happiness were not some of the wealthiest people or the most popular people or even the people who had the most free time. They were people who had a strong family and community lifestyle, who had strong community and family functional relationships with their community. That really was the determining factor. So that's what it's all about. I think music helps create positive relationships. That's why I'm doing this talk. That's been my experience. But I do think we need to talk about this more. So we need to get the word out that there's not only benefits from music, but there's lessons that we can learn from the musician or from the artist that can inform our daily living, choices that we make in daily living that can just enhance everybody's life. And that's not about being a musician. That's just about using the mindset of the musician and the experiences of the musician. And like I said earlier, leveraging that, you know, for a higher quality of life. All right, everybody. So, you know, I know not everyone is behaving kind online, but here's what I hope for you and for me. Maybe it starts with you. You know, I know for me, I try to treat everyone with respect and dignity online, and it's got to start somewhere. Somebody has to let that. Somebody has to turn the other cheek. You know, it's got to start with someone. I feel like turning the other cheek is a sign of great restraint and strength and personal integrity. It's easy to shoot arrows, you know, and type back something mean at people. That's easy. That's the easy way out, right? Just fighting. What takes character? What takes discipline? What takes kindness? That is to say, it's okay. You're still valuable. You're doing the best you can. I'm gonna just let it stop right here with me. Give me those rocks you're throwing. I'm gonna pick them up and then put them in a little bag. All right. I'll take the shot. Yeah, it's fine. It's not a problem because it actually doesn't matter what you say. It's not, your words are about you. They're not about me. So if you can get to that point, but also it's not like saying what somebody says doesn't matter. It's just acknowledging that whatever they're saying is just about them. I mean, it does matter because it shows where they're at. It shows that they're in pain or they're suffering or they're out of options. So by modeling, you know, a better way, you can just show people, you show your children, you show your friends, your family, your community, your colleagues, you demonstrate through your actions a better way. And that's what I think that Ohana idea can help us do, all right? So I'm gonna wrap up with that. This has been a Music Mindfulness Sunday service. I'm going to try, if I can get a hang of live streaming here on YouTube, I'm gonna try to do more of these. And I realize it may not be for everyone. We're all different. We all have different practices that we enjoy. People have different philosophical perspectives. That's all great. It's all fine. It's wonderful. But I hope we can agree on some of these basic things and use them and incorporate them into your own practice. If you have a religion that you like to practice, or you're an atheist, that you have a spiritual or non-spiritual approach, this is just about basic living, how we treat each other. So you can layer it into a practice that you have already, or you can make it a practice. All of that, all of the above, all right? Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to connect with me more, you can visit me at patreon.com/Kalani or kalanimusic.com. Sign up for my list, my contact list, and I'll keep you posted on things that I'm doing. In the meantime, have a beautiful day, and bless you. Thanks for watching.